That familiar smell before and after rain actually has a name, and that name is petrichor. It's the earthy, fresh scent released when rain falls on dry ground. One major source of that smell is a compound called geosmin. Geosmin is produced by soil-dwelling bacteria, especially a group known as streptomyces, when they create spores. When raindrops hit the ground, they trap tiny air bubbles that burst and launch geosmin into the air. That's what gives rain its classic earthy aroma. Plants also play a role. During dry periods, vegetation releases oils that build up on surfaces. Rain breaks apart those oils and releases compounds that contribute to the scent we call petrichor. There's also a third contributor, ozone. Lightning can split oxygen molecules, allowing them to recombine into ozone, or O3. Ozone has a sharp, clean, slightly metallic smell that people often notice just before a storm arrives. That intensity of the smell depends on how dry the ground was before the rain reaches the ground. After long stretches, petrichor tends to be stronger and easier to notice. So remember, the smell of rain comes from a mix of soil bacteria, plant oils, and sometimes ozone, all released into the air when the first drops of rain fall.